My sister called me basically their wallet at her son's party. My brother-in-law joked about adding a tip jar. My MOM told me to let it go, so I took back the tuition envelope, walked out, and started choosing peace over obligation. Aaron always hated that the title came with no ceremony, no moment of recognition, no applause or medal. It just happened, like slow-growing rust on a hinge. One day you're the middle child with your own messy life and average plans, and the next you're the reliable one, the one they call, the one who fixes it. It started with a phone bill when Jenna forgot. He paid it. She promised it was a one-time thing. Then it was groceries, then rent, then emotional crises, the crying voicemails at 2 a.m., the unspoken expectation to step in when Travis, her husband, disappeared into whatever latest scheme he was failing at. Aaron didn't mind helping at first. Everyone goes through hard seasons. But this season stretched into a cycle, and the cycle became a pattern. And patterns calcify, especially when everyone benefits but you. He never complained, not out loud. There were polite nods from his mother, who always said things like, "You've always been the strong one," as if that were praise, not a life sentence. The worst part was how invisible it all became, how quietly he became the scaffolding for someone else's failing house. But there was Tyler. His nephew was 8 now, all crooked teeth and kinetic energy. The only person who didn't take Aaron's presence for granted. Tyler hugged him like he meant it, drew him crayon cards, asked, with a child's brutal honesty, "Why do you always look tired?" This year, Aaron had gone too far again, booking a mobile petting zoo, handmade decorations, custom cupcakes with space-themed toppers. He hated that he enjoyed it, the planning, the effort, the predictability of giving joy. He'd even taken a vacation day just to be there early to set up. He looked at the checklist on his fridge and sighed, each task a silent promise to hold things together, every purchase a brick in the wall of his own quiet martyrdom. What would happen if he didn't? If he skipped the party or gave a gift card instead of a curated memory? Would anyone ask if he was okay? Or would they simply call him selfish, dramatic, unreliable, code words for no longer convenient? He adjusted the last decoration on the table and sat back. Resentment didn't always roar. Sometimes it whispered. Sometimes it built a home in your chest and waited, patient as gravity. And Aaron, ever the good brother, the dependable uncle, would show up again tomorrow. Smile, take photos, pretend like the cost wasn't killing something in him quietly, piece by piece. The sun was warm, the grass soft beneath the feet of stampeding children. Laughter rang out from every corner of the rented backyard space. Tyler had already declared the goats his new best friends, and was leading a chicken around like it was a loyal sidekick. For a moment, Aaron allowed himself a smile. He stayed in the background, camera in hand, watching the chaos unfold like a benevolent ghost. That's where he liked it, out of frame, out of credit. The cupcakes had landed, the balloons were still afloat, and no one had cried yet. That was what counted. Travis showed up late, naturally. Designer sunglasses, some ironic graphic tee, the confident swagger of a man who confused charm with contribution. Jenna trailed behind him, phone glued to her ear, already issuing orders to the party staff Aaron had booked and paid for. "Aaron, you remembered the piñata, right?" she asked, not even looking at him. He nodded. Of course he had. It was hanging from the oak tree she passed under without a second glance. Guests arrived in waves. Co-workers of Jenna's, neighbors, a few of Tyler's classmates' parents, all mingling and thanking them for the beautiful setup. No one corrected the credit. Aaron didn't expect them to. Still, the sting was dull and constant. A low burn beneath the skin. He stood near the drinks table when he overheard it. "Oh, don't worry," Jenna said with a chuckle to a guest, waving a hand. "Aaron's basically our wallet at this point." The words landed like a slap, light, laughing, but sharp. There was a pause in his chest, just long enough to register the humiliation. A few heads turned. Someone laughed politely. Travis, standing beside her, added, "Seriously, the guy's like a walking ATM. I keep telling him we should give him a tip jar." Aaron didn't react, didn't flinch. He just blinked slowly, like the words had entered the wrong dimension. But inside, something moved. A slow, tectonic shift. His mother had heard too. She moved quickly to his side, pressing a gentle hand to his arm. "Let it go," she whispered, eyes darting nervously. "It's just a joke." He didn't answer. Her voice was the match that found dry timber. Not because of what she said, but how many times he'd heard it. "Let it go. Don't make a scene. They need you. You're the reliable one." He looked at her hand on his arm and saw, every time she'd pushed him to absorb the cost, to forgive without apology, to smile while they drained and dry. He stepped away without a word. Across the yard, Tyler was giggling, surrounded by animals and confetti. Aaron's chest ached, not from love, but from the collision of it with betrayal. He knew what he had to do. He just hadn't known it would be today. The party buzzed with joy and sugar highs, but Aaron moved through it like he was already leaving. He scanned the gift table, fingers grazing over shiny wrapping paper and glossy ribbons until he saw the envelope. The tuition envelope, heavy in his hands, not just with money, but meaning. A symbol of yet another sacrifice no one asked for but everyone expected. He didn't hesitate. He slipped it back into his jacket pocket and turned toward the gate. "Hey, Aaron, wait, what are you doing?" Jenna's voice sliced through the noise. Several heads turned. Balloons bobbed nervously in the breeze. Aaron stopped and turned slowly. Calm, measured, eyes unreadable, I'm taking back what's mine, he said. It's time you start figuring things out without me. The words dropped like lead. Travis broke into an awkward laugh. Okay, man. Let's not be dramatic. You're not seriously pulling that, right? It's Tyler's. Aaron's gaze cut through him. Don't finish that sentence. Jenna approached now, face twisting from confusion to panic. What are you talking about? You said you'd. I didn't say I would. You assumed I would. Like always. The crowd had quieted. A few polite steps back had been taken. The party music seemed too cheerful now, incongruous with the gravity unfolding. Travis, trying to salvage his cool, followed Aaron as he turned again toward the gate. Come on. Let's not do this here. Don't make a scene, man. You know how hard it is on us. You're the only one who can help. Aaron stopped just outside the fence and turned back. His voice was low but clear. You don't get to call it help when it's demanded. You don't get to joke about me being your wallet and then beg me not to close it. You've never asked. You've just taken. Travis looked rattled now. This isn't fair. You know we're struggling. Aaron's mouth twitched, not a smile. Everyone struggles. You just decided it wasn't your job to deal with it. And Tyler, what about him? Aaron's jaw tightened, but his voice didn't waver. Tyler deserves better. He deserves parents who don't weaponize him for pity. He deserves truth. And someday, I'll give him that. Directly. Travis stood there, all the charm drained from his face. I'm done being your backup plan. Aaron turned again and walked toward his car. He didn't slam the door. He didn't peel out of the driveway. He left with the silence of a final decision, the kind that can't be undone with apologies or panic. The line had been drawn, not in anger, but in clarity. And for the first time in years, Aaron felt something close to free. The hum of the car engine was soft, almost soothing. But Aaron didn't drive. He sat in the driver's seat with both hands still on the wheel, as if anchoring himself. The envelope lay on the passenger seat. It looked smaller now, less powerful. Or maybe he just wasn't afraid of it anymore. His phone buzzed again. First Jenna, then his mother, then Jenna again. No voicemails. Just texts piling up, each notification a sharp nudge of urgency. Words like, unbelievable, embarrassing, we need to talk. He put the phone face down and stared through the windshield at nothing. The silence was thick but not empty. It was full of everything he'd never said, of all the swallowed responses, of every sigh that passed as compliance. A flock of kids streamed across the sidewalk behind him, laughing and sticky with sugar. The party continued without him, and yet he knew he was the conversation now. He imagined his mother, wringing her hands and repeating her favorite lines. You know how she is. She's your sister. Don't punish the child for the parents. But wasn't that what they had done to him? He started the car, drove slowly, with the window cracked. The late afternoon breeze was warm, a breeze that felt like it belonged to no one, untied from obligation. Home greeted him like an old friend, still, waiting, untouched by the chaos. He walked straight through to the backyard and sank into the weathered Adirondack chair beneath the fading sky. For a long while, he didn't think. He just sat. The chirp of distant birds, the rustle of leaves, the faint scent of cut grass, it all layered around him like protection, the kind he'd never let himself seek. He looked down at his hands, the same hands that had written checks, built furniture, fixed leaks, packed lunches, hands that had held this family together without thanks. They trembled slightly, not from fear, but from release. That night, he made no calls, sent no messages. He heated leftovers and ate in silence, letting every bite remind him that he could choose simplicity, that not every act of care had to be sacrifice. Before bed, he sat at his desk and opened a blank document. He titled it, Plan, Exit Strategy, because this wasn't a one-time moment. It was the beginning, and beginnings, he was learning, could feel like endings when they came wrapped in peace. The folder was heavier than he remembered. Aaron slid open the bottom drawer of his desk, pulled it out, and placed it on the surface like a final piece of evidence in a long trial. Inside, every page was neatly labeled, every receipt clipped. Years of bank transfers, gift purchases, tuition payments, emergency loans. Some reimbursed, most not. He flipped through it slowly, not with bitterness, but with intention. Every dollar had a story, every line item a memory he hadn't been allowed to hold on to, because the moment he gave, it ceased to be his. At the back of the folder, he found the email printout, the one he had sent to Tyler's school board months ago. Not accusatory, just precautionary. As the listed payer for this tuition agreement, I reserve the right to withdraw sponsorship at any time. Please confirm receipt and acknowledgement. A short reply was stapled behind it. Confirmation received. He had always known this moment might come. He just hadn't known how calm he would feel when it did. Next, he opened his laptop. A separate folder, digital this time, held screenshots of texts, email exchanges, invoices, and even casual messages from Jenna that casually assumed he would cover everything from birthday ponies to orthodontics. He backed it all up to a hard drive, then to the cloud. No more gray zones. No more, we thought you said, or we assumed. Just facts. Cold, unshakable, timestamped truth. When it was done, he opened a blank document. Subject, change in financial support. He typed the first draft of a statement, not a manifesto, not an accusation, just a clear message, one he would soon send to his lawyer and, eventually, his family. Then he opened another file, a letter drafted months ago but never sent, a legal document revoking any assumed obligation for dependents, family tuition, or custodial support. He had already consulted with a friend-in-law who'd helped him word it precisely. He added the final date and saved a signed PDF copy. Contingencies, boundaries, proof. If they tried to gild him, he'd have clarity. If they tried to accuse him, he'd have evidence. If they tried to twist his story, he'd already written it down. It wasn't revenge. Not exactly. It was armor. And this time, he wasn't putting it on to protect them. He was wearing it for himself. She didn't call first. Of course she didn't. Aaron heard the car before he saw her, wheels crunching the gravel, doors slamming with purpose. A few seconds later, the doorbell rang with that unmistakable rhythm. Not a request, but a demand. He opened the door just far enough to see her face. Jenna was flushed, eyes wide and wild. Her makeup slightly smudged, either from crying or rushing. She looked more disoriented than angry, like someone who couldn't believe the world wasn't orbiting her crisis. We need to talk. Aaron didn't flinch. You're already talking. She pushed past him before he could stop her, pacing the living room like she had claim to the space. What the hell was that? You embarrassed us. You humiliated Travis. You made me look. I didn't make you do anything, he said quietly, closing the door behind her. You did that on your own. She spun around. You took back tuition. For Tyler. Do you even realize what that does to him? Aaron walked to the center of the room, arms crossed. Steady. You don't get to use him as a shield anymore. Her voice cracked, rising now, desperate. You're punishing a child because you're mad at us. No, Aaron said, firmly. I'm holding you accountable. Something no one's ever done. Jenna's face contorted between disbelief and rage. You think you're the victim here? You think this is some noble stand? No, he replied, and his voice was calmer than even he expected. I think I've enabled this long enough. I think I confused love with responsibility, and I think I'm done. She stared at him, speechless for a moment. The gears were spinning behind her eyes, searching for leverage, a guilt card that might still work. But Tyler, he loves you. Aaron softened, just slightly. I love him too, and I'll always be there for him. But not like this. Not through you. Jenna's shoulders sagged, and for a moment she looked small, like a kid who had finally been told no after years of yes. He walked to the door and opened it again. She didn't move. You can text me if you need to confirm logistics, he said. But I'm not having this argument again. Her mouth opened as if to fire one last shot, but the door closed before she could. Through the window, he watched her stand on the porch for a few seconds, stunned. Then she left, not with fury, but in silence. Aaron stood in the stillness of his home. His home. No one shouting. No demands waiting. No apologies written in advance. Just peace. And the weight of knowing that peace often begins the moment you stop asking for permission to have it. The voicemail arrived at 6:17 a.m. His mother's voice, tight and clipped. We need to talk. Today. I'm coming over. She didn't ask. She never did. Aaron was already up, seated at the kitchen table, flipping through the binder for the third time. Each section tabbed in color. Tuition, rent, medical, holidays, emergencies. All of it documented. All of it real. At the back, he slipped in the legal letter. Signed, dated, witnessed. A simple page revoking any assumed financial responsibility for Jenna's household or dependents. He emailed it to his lawyer, CC'd himself, printed 2 hard copies, and slid them into the binder. Then he waited. When the doorbell rang, he didn't brace himself. She came in without a greeting, holding her purse like a weapon. Her lips were already pressed into a disappointed line. I just spoke to your sister, she said sharply. She's in tears. You've made a huge mess. Aaron gestured toward the dining table. Then let's talk about it. She sat, stiff and ready for war. What happened to you? You've always been the one we could count on. You don't just turn your back on family. He placed the binder in front of her and opened it to the first tab. I didn't turn my back, he said. I turned off the faucet. She blinked, confused. He flipped the pages slowly. Bank transfers, screenshots, email confirmations. Each item labeled, timestamped. This is what I've paid for over the last 7 years. Rent, tuition, groceries, birthday parties, braces, utilities. Not loans, just expectations. And here, he flipped to the letter, is a legal document that says those expectations end now. She looked at the paper but didn't touch it. You're acting like a stranger, she said, like you're above us. No, he said softly. I'm finally acting like someone with boundaries. Her voice rose. You think this makes you strong? Abandoning your family? No, Aaron replied. I think pretending nothing was wrong made me weak. He closed the binder and slid it gently back toward himself. You can believe whatever you need to believe to feel better about it, but I'm not going back. Not to that role. Not to that silence. She stared at him like he was a new person, and in a way, he was. I know you think I'm hurting Jenna, he added, but the truth is, I've just stopped protecting her from the consequences of her own life. For a long time, she said nothing. Then she stood up, slower than she arrived. I don't know who you are anymore, she whispered. Aaron met her gaze. I do. She left without another word, and for once, she didn't leave a mess behind, just space. Aaron sat alone at the table, binder closed, hands steady. It was done. No shouting, no storm, just facts. And freedom. It had been quiet for weeks. No messages, no visits, no chaos creeping in under the door. Aaron spent the silence like borrowed time, reading more, walking longer, cooking meals for one without apology. It was the kind of peace that doesn't announce itself. It just settles. Then, one Saturday afternoon, there was a knock, a softer one. When he opened the door, it wasn't Jenna. It wasn't his mother. It was Tyler. Just him. The boy stood awkwardly, hands jammed into the pockets of a hoodie a size too big. No parent in sight. Just that familiar uncertain look, like he wasn't sure if he was allowed to be here. "Hey," Tyler said, voice small. Aaron stepped aside. "Come in." They sat in the living room, the silence between them gentler than most. Tyler glanced around, eyes settling on the photos still on the bookshelf, some of him and Aaron at past birthdays, trips to the zoo, blurry selfies. He pointed to one. "Mom said you were mad. She said you don't want to be part of the family anymore." Aaron let the words settle before answering. "I'm not mad at you," he said gently, "but I had to stop doing things that made me feel invisible. That's not your fault." Tyler fidgeted, nodding slowly. Aaron continued, voice steady but warm. "Sometimes, when people ask too much for too long and never say thank you, it makes you feel small and tired. And one day you realize you can't do it anymore." Tyler looked down. "I liked when you did stuff for me." "I liked it too," Aaron said, smiling. "That's the difference. I chose to do those things for you. What I don't want anymore is to be used." The boy nodded again, this time more firmly. "I asked Mom if I could come by. She said no, but I took the bus." Aaron blinked, surprised, impressed. "You did?" "Yeah," Tyler said, a bit of pride slipping in. "I wanted to say thank you, and I still want to see you, if that's okay." Aaron's chest ached, but in a different way than before, a warm kind of ache. He reached into a drawer by the couch and pulled out a small envelope. Inside, a debit card, registered in Tyler's name, loaded with a modest balance, connected only to Aaron. "This is just for you," he said. "Not your parents. For books, games, art, whatever you want. You don't have to explain it to anyone." Tyler's eyes went wide. "Seriously?" Aaron nodded. "Seriously." They spent the next hour watching old cartoons, barely talking, just existing. It wasn't the old relationship anymore. It was something better. No obligations, no roles, just two people, choosing each other honestly. The holidays came and went without a single call. No invitations, no guilt trips, no urgent crises masked as family traditions. Aaron made cinnamon rolls anyway, just for himself. He sat on his porch with a mug of coffee and watched the frost paint patterns on the glass. It didn't feel lonely. It felt still. Therapy had become a rhythm. Not dramatic, not revelatory, just consistent. A place where his silence unraveled at a manageable pace. He learned how to identify the difference between care and compliance, between giving and being taken. Some weekends he traveled, small towns, nature trails, little pockets of quiet where no one knew his name or his usefulness. He took photos again. He slept deeply. He stopped apologizing for doing nothing. Tyler came by every few weeks, sometimes just to talk, sometimes to share a sketch or show off something he'd bought with his debit card. There were no strings, no parental backlash, just a simple, growing connection rooted in trust. On New Year's Eve, Aaron didn't look at his phone once. Instead, he cooked a simple meal, lit a candle, and made a list, not of goals, but of non-negotiables, things he would no longer trade away for love or peace. No more rescuing people who weaponize need. No more apologizing for drawing breath differently than they want. No more being the scaffolding for collapsing houses he didn't build. Travis had tried to message twice. Once a vague apology, once a manipulative guilt trip disguised as an update. Aaron didn't reply. He didn't block him, either. He just didn't engage. Power, he realized, wasn't in cutting people out. It was in not letting them in. The label of villain didn't bother him anymore. Not when it came from people who only loved him when he was bleeding for them. He sat in his backyard as the new year began, wrapped in a blanket, listening to the distant pop of fireworks. Somewhere in the dark, and all called once, lonely, maybe, or just free. Aaron didn't feel heroic, or vengeful, or triumphant. He just felt quiet, and finally, whole.